Um, Today's date is November the 9th, 2011, and we're at the home of Bill MCNeil. And Bill, what is your wife's name?
Susan.
Susan. Bill and Susan MCNeil. And the address is 9195
Winding Woods Drive,
Winding Woods Drive.
Lake Worth, Florida.
Okay. It's okay. And my name is Carlton Cartwright. I'm the Executive Director for the Children's Coalition Incorporated. Okay. And, Bill, what war was going on at the time that you served?
The Korean War.
Okay. And what branch of the service were you in?
The U.S. paratroops.
Okay. Just let me make sure. Okay. Were you drafted or did you enlist?
Oh, I enlisted. Not much choice in those days.
Perfect. Thank you, Susan.
Sure, we got this one looks better. Just move it wherever you want.
Thank you very much. Where were you living at the time that you were drafted?
Wheeling, West Virginia.
We weren't drafted.
When I enlisted, you mean?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And you just told me you picked that service branch because you didn't have any choice?
Well, yes, that's true. It was either, in those days I tried to enlist in the Air Force and the Navy, but their quotas were met. So the only thing that was open was the Marine Corps and this. And because at that time I saw a little brochure that said I'd get $50 a month extra if I jumped out of airplanes. So it seemed to me like a pretty damn good deal because $50 was a lot of money in those days.
Right, right. Okay. All right, do you recall your first days in service? What was that like?
Hell. 16 weeks of basic training at Fort Campbell, Kentucky with all paratroopers as our cadre. They made us take off our helmets and hold them over our hearts when they told us that we were bums and we were never going to make it and so on as they made their training jumps.
Okay.
So we had to stop and take our helmets off and hold them. Okay.
Okay. How did this is a terrible question after that. What did it feel like? Tell me about boot camp and training. You remember your instructors at all?
Yeah, they were pretty nasty. They didn't have much sympathy. I can tell you that. You know, I don't know how many times I'd hear such things as, "Do I look like your mother? Do I look like the chaplain?" They were brutal.
Okay. All right. Okay. Where exactly did you go after basic? And you went to tech? Did you have tech school?
No, I stayed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky for about 2 years, except for various training things. We did a special training in Louisiana swamps and at Thule, Greenland, where it was 40 below zero when we got there. So those were, but we were always on combat alert. So that meant we had, in fact, when we went to Thule, they woke us all up at 4 o'clock in the morning and put us on C-130s, and we didn't know where we were going except that they started issuing us all kinds of cold weather gear.
Okay. I forgot to ask you, what was your rank when you got out of the service?
Spec 3.
Spec, okay. Tell me more. What about your...
Well, I ended up as a cook, first cook, and I ended up as the personal cook for General George Tyson when I was with Headquarters Company at Fort Bragg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you can believe that.
Yeah. Why not? Okay. Now you say you were you say you went in to be a paratrooper.
Mm-hmm.
You wound up being cook.
And a paratrooper.
Both.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you weren't jumping out of planes, you were cooking.
For a good bit of the time, yes, yes. There's nothing like trying to set up a field mess when you're doing maneuvers, so that was, yeah.
Okay. Okay, tell me about a couple of your most memorable experiences.
Uh, Perhaps one that I'll never forget is on one of our training jumps, when the stick starts moving, it moves very quickly so that everybody can get out over the drop zone.
Okay.
And as I did my pivot, my foot slipped and I went out the door head first instead of feet first. My chute, I couldn't check my parachute. First thing you do when you feel the jolt is you check your parachute and make sure all the panels are intact, etc. So, but my left heel was caught in one of the suspension lines, so I was sort of upside down. So I pulled my reserve, and the reserve caught air. First of all, it went down because I had a full chute. I didn't know I couldn't do. And then it did get air. So I was coming down with a reserve and a main chute, and I finally got my foot unlodged about 100 feet off the ground. So I was able to make a decent parachute landing fall, PLF. Yes. That was one of the most memorable.
Hair raising.
Yeah, well, yes. Yes, very much so.
What else you got?
I don't know that there was anything that was exceptional. I know we played a lot of war games. That was
A lot of maneuvers.
a lot of maneuvers, a lot of training, that type of thing. So, but then one of the things I really enjoyed was being on the drill team. I was on it for about 3 or 4 months, and it was a lot of fun. It was nice to dress up and look sharp and so on and so forth. And in those days, I was pretty well tapered. In fact, we all wore tapered shirts.
Yeah, we were.
Those days are long gone.
Yeah, yeah.
There's been a reversal of the anatomy.
Right, right.
Let me see.
Anybody ever get hurt on maneuvers?
Oh, yeah. One fellow, when we were in Louisiana, was bitten on a lip by a snake. What's the red, black, and yellow snake that quite poisonous, small snake?
Coral?
Coral snake, yeah.
Really?
Bitten on his lip while he was in the sleeping bag.
Oh boy.
And that, of course, caused it. And in the compound where we assembled, we had snakes strewn over there were snakes everywhere, all kinds of snakes.
Really?
Yeah.
And what state was that in again?
Louisiana.
Yeah, that figures. Okay.
Yeah, it was a swampy area.
Right.
It was called Operation Sagebrush. Yeah, so that was, as I said, that was, we had to stay physically fit. It was constant PT, and that was basically where we were. So I spent a very short, about 2 months, as an AI in hand-to-hand combat. And,
What is
I'll
it?
let her get it.
What is an AI?
Assistant instructor.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So you were a teacher.
You could say that, yeah, of getting on somebody's case because he wasn't doing it right or something. Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, I ended up being an educator, so I guess that was the initial. I never thought of it that way, but
Okay.
I get that.
We'll get to that a little later. Did people get hurt? I mean, you said snake, but I mean from the training. Did anybody get hurt? Either jumping out?
Not that I recall. We never had a training jump during that time. It's Operation Sagebrush.
Okay.
We never had a training jump, so no. Almost. I think in every training jump, somebody always got hurt. That was just par for the course.
Par of the course.
Yeah. And we initially jumped with T7 parachutes, which are the World War II parachutes. And they came down, they oscillated a lot, you never knew how you were going to land and so on. Then later, when the T10 parachute came into being, it was really nice. We never felt the jolt when it opened, and it came down pretty nice. It didn't oscillate like the T7.
Oscillated what?
It didn't oscillate like the T7
Okay.
parachute,
All right.
which was the World War II parachute.
Were you, how long was you, what year did you go into service?
53, June 53.
And I don't think I asked you, when is your birthday?
My birthday?
Yeah. When is that? When were you born?
February 2nd, 1935.
Gotcha. Okay. You went in, what year did you go into the military?
53.
That's the year I was born. And how many years did you?
3.
3 years. Okay, so you 56, you separated?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, did you receive any medals or citations?
None that everybody else didn't get.
Well, which ones did you receive?
Well, the good conduct, the national defense. There was one other that I received. Well, I had the unit citation. That's the little blue one that you wear this side.
Right.
Can't think of any others that were outstanding or remarkable.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Did you ever get injured?
Yes. One time I landed in a tree and I lost my front teeth. Yeah. What can I say?
Yeah, I hear you. Okay. So I guess they took care of that for you?
Yeah. The dentists there weren't all that good, but I had a partial that flew out of my mouth half the time.
Great. Okay, so were you married at the time?
I was married for the last year I was in the service. Yes, I got married.
So, where was your family from?
Wheeling.
Huh?
Wheeling, West Virginia.
Okay, okay. And wife or immediate family, either way, did you stay in touch with your family while you were in the service?
Oh, sure.
What was the food like?
Have you ever had the real sea rations?
Well, you cooked though.
Yeah, but
When you cooked, it was okay, but when it was sea rations,
well, we had a lot of neat tricks, being a cook.
Uh-huh.
For instance, if you had mashed potatoes that came out of the number 10 can, and what I would do though, I just take a few real potatoes and chop them up so that they'd be just a little lumpy and throw them in there so that the guys thought they were getting real mashed potatoes.
right.
Same thing with scrambled eggs. They were powdered eggs, and so you'd stir them up and then you'd throw in a few whole eggs so that the shells would show from time to time. So I'm divulging some tricks here that
that went over pretty well. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Okay. Did you have all the supplies you needed?
Oh yes. We always had plenty of supplies.
Okay. Did you feel any pressure or stress, throughout your active duty military career?
No, because I was just those days. You're 18 years old or whatever, and you're kind of happy-go-lucky.
Right.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Was there any entertainment? How did people entertain themselves?
Well, you had if you got to go into Nashville or something, you entertained yourself.
Okay.
But no, the USO was where Susan and I would particularly when we were living in Fayetteville, North Carolina, when I was at Fort Bragg.
Right.
We'd go to the USO quite often. We didn't have any money, so you know, you got
Okay.
that. So, but I became very, very good at table tennis, ping pong.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes.
All right.
I beat the
Champion?
well, I beat the 5'11" champion a number of times. His name was Nick Seawalk, and he couldn't believe because I played defense, and he was one of these guys that back off, and he'd hit that ball, you know, and it would loop over, and I'd return that sucker every time. And
Okay.
yeah.
You're
And
pretty
then,
tall. You got pretty long arms, huh?
well, yeah. Well, one of my greatest things that I like to recall as far as table tennis is concerned is when the Steelers practiced football, had their preseason camp at the college that I was associated with, and I would, Big Daddy Lipscomb, I don't know if you remember him or not.
No.
He was one of the first really big linemen. He's about 6'7", 6'8" maybe, and he could reach clear over on my side of the net, and I'd beat him, and he would get so damn frustrated. It was really funny. He was always but he was a pretty good table tennis player. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's some of the things you recall with kind of delight, as it were. Yes, to beat the big football lineman.
At table tennis.
At table tennis.
Okay. Did you go on leave throughout your service?
Oh yes,
Where'd you go?
home to Wheeling.
Okay.
That's the only place.
That was it?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you think of officers and your fellow officers and your fellow soldiers?
Well, they were all comrades, and I think that I gained a great deal of respect for their officers because they were always the first out the door of the airplane. They truly led.
Okay.
So I always had a great respect for our officers and non-coms.
Okay.
I had one non-com when I was going through training. His name was Sergeant Lang. He had 4 combat jumps. About half his face was all scarred up and everything. He was tough as nails.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, I always consider it a privilege to, as I've served with this chapter of the 82nd Airborne, respect for those guys who laid it all on the line.
Right.
There's something about those guys that I think, oh my God. You know, and I was so fortunate not to have combat experience. So.
Right.
So that's just a feeling that you get after being around men like this. Men of real courage, you know, real heroes,
Right.
to me, yeah.
Do you recall your last days of service?
Yes, it was rather harrowing since, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I almost ended up in the brig. I punched out a KP,
KP?
kitchen duty person.
Oh.
Yes. Well, he wouldn't get up to come down to the mess hall and do his duty, so I told him he needed, when we finally got him after I went up and threw water on him in the bunk, he was a leg.
A what?
A leg.
A leg?
He was a non-jumper.
Okay.
A leg is somebody who doesn't jump.
Okay.
Okay. Straight leg is okay. And so a court-martial was pending against me.
Oh.
And I had a captain who didn't have much use for straight legs. So I got off, and poor Susan, we were married at the time, and she was really apprehensive that, you know, I would, so You know, that's something I don't really like to talk about,
I
but
understand.
it happens. You don't go through these things unscathed.
Right,
Let's put
yeah.
it this way. Yeah.
It's got to be something.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, I punched him out, and that's what happened.
so when you got out, where did you go? Did you use your GI Bill?
I used my GI Bill, and I went to a little college called Bethany College, a small Christian college outside of Wheeling in Bethany, West Virginia. Yeah.
All right. Did you have to do reserve duty, or did you?
No, I didn't want to go in the reserves. I just felt that that was it
That
for
was,
me.
okay.
Although you're automatically on reserve,
Right.
so but I didn't join as one who would participate in weekend adventures or anything like that. No,
Right.
No.
Did you make any close friendships while you were in the service?
Oh yes, yes, quite a few.
Did you continue? Did you continue them, and for how long?
Well, I've lost track of a whole bunch of them. One fella, his name was Rodney Weitzel, and he was a real good friend. And he was from West Virginia, a little town called Athens, and he always sort of looked out for me because he never knew what I was going to do.
How old was he? How much older was he?
Well,
than you?
actually, he was younger than I was. He went in when he was 17.
Okay.
I was 18.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, yeah. He and about 6-7 years ago stopped and saw him, and he had a whole fleet of refuse trucks. He became a garbage man, I guess you could say,
Right, okay.
running his own fleet of garbage trucks. So he did quite well in that respect. So yeah, and then there are others that I've sort of lost track of over the years. Yeah, that happens.
So obviously, yeah. Tell me about your veterans organization that you belong to.
Well, I belong to this 82nd Airborne Division Association, Palm Beach County chapter.
Right. What chapter is that? It has a,
It's
does it have a
just
number?
called, no,
Okay.
just Palm Beach County chapter, yeah. And that's about it. Well, I do belong to the, haven't been to a meeting in ages. There's the VFW and there's the other, what's the other one? Can't think of it.
Okay.
Mind's slipping, yes.
No big
Yeah.
deal. What kind of activities does your veterans organization do?
Well, of course, we have the parade coming up, the Veterans Parade. We
Right.
participate in a lot of those. Memorial Day services, things like that.
Okay.
We also we sponsor Wounded Warriors. We engage ourselves with the Veterans Administration, and we put on big bingo games and ice cream parties for for those that are housed there.
At where? How's where?
Housed at the VA,
Okay.
Veterans Administration. You know, they have a wing there that these guys that most of them never make it out of there.
Men and women, right? There's also
Yeah, oh yeah. But
somebody there also. Yeah.
actually, I haven't seen any women come think of it. But
There's I don't one is it the northeast side of the hospital? I think that's where the women's
could be.
facility is.
I've never been to
I
it.
visited there once.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. Any other activities that you can think of that stand out?
From what? What do you-
Related to the activities the organization does.
Let me see. We do quite a few things. Can't think of anything off the top of my head. We do involve ourselves. Junior ROTC.
Oh, okay.
We present our 82nd Airborne medal with a certificate
Right.
to whomever is designated by the leadership in the junior ROTC.
Right.
And we also present the Special Forces medal and certificate. We have quite a few fellows who are Special Forces guys in our chapter.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, quite a few.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, about 12 or 13.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
See, anybody that's a qualified paratrooper,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of his unit or whatever, is, we have people from the 101st, the 187th, a whole bunch of airborne units. So,
Right.
we're not exclusive to 82nd Airborne.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. What did you go on to do as a career after the war? You were college? What? You were teaching?
Well, yes, I ended up doing a whole host of things. Rather checkered career. After college, I went with Esso Standard Oil, and I left them and went into teaching. I did not have a teaching degree, but in those days you could take the National Teachers Exam, and if you passed that, you would, and your superintendent okayed you, then you could become a certified teacher.
Okay.
So I did that, and I spent time as a principal, and then time as a college administrator at the college at West Liberty. It's now a university, West Liberty University, where the Pittsburgh Steelers had their preseason camp for about 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And so I ran the campus in Wheeling, West Virginia. I was the chief honcho there. So then later we became a community college, and I served as the interim president of West Virginia Northern Community College.
Right.
So that was quite an experience. I was with West Virginia Northern for about 6 years or so. I established WATCH, which was the Wheeling Area Training Center for the Handicap. That was the
Mm-hmm.
name that I gave to the organization. We served adult handicapped people, mostly mentally handicapped. From there, I had a number of positions, and then what brought me down here was the Palm Beach Habilitation Center.
Uh-huh.
We're looking for an executive director, and I don't know how they found out about me, but they contacted me. At that time, I was running a program in Ohio, and so they offered me a position down here, so I became executive director of Palm Beach Habilitation Center.
Okay.
Then from there, I went back into education,
Mm-hmm.
served as a crisis intervention teacher and assistant principal. My wife wanted me to get back into education so that we would have our summers, because we love to go to Ireland. We've been to Ireland 10 times, so that's sort of a side note. Naturally, with a name like MCNeil, you might suspect that.
Yeah, something like that.
And happy St. Patty's Day to you.
There you go. All right. Okay. So you retired from education in the end, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
I don't know. I just believe that we should think long and hard before we ever engage ourselves in war. To put our treasure of young men and women in harm's way, I think is something you have to really give a lot of thought about before you. Old men create wars, young men die in them. Maybe that's succinct enough.
I think you made the point. You guys have reunions in your veterans organization?
Oh, yes, yes. We have we participate in a lot of them. We have the All Florida Airborne Days. Just last month they had it in it's the Tampa chapter on the West Coast.
Right.
And then we have the National, and the National is held at various places. And this year, our new chairman, who replaced me, he has really been great. He goes to all these events and so on, and he was put on the National Board of Directors for the 82nd Airborne Association.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Barry, right?
Barry. Yeah.
Barry Clark. Okay.
Yeah, he is. He is really a good leader. He does all the little things, you know, that a good chairman does. You know,
Right.
whether it's making sure that we've lost quite a few of our members, particularly WW2 guys, in the last couple of years.
Right.
And we show up and do all kinds of special things. Right now we have a number of widows that we're going to invite to our annual shindig,
Right.
installation banquet dinner. Yeah,
Where are you going to hold that?
it's going to be at the DoubleTree on North Palm Beach Links. Yeah,
In North Palm Beach?
Yeah,
Up
yeah.
in the gardens, kind of?
the Gardens. I'm sorry.
PGA.
The PGA.
There you go,
Right.
that's right.
There you go.
Okay. When is that going to be?
December 4th.
I'm a little bit off track now. Okay.
That's right.
I'll get it.
Yeah, December 4th.
Just a couple more questions. How did your service and experiences affect your life?
Actually, a great deal. You know, you come out of there having a certain amount of discipline.
Right.
You come out of there with a respect for other veterans, for people generally. I guess in the long run, it served me well in the various occupations I've had. Most of those have been some sort of leadership position. And so it kind of allowed me to do the things that I ought to do as a leader. And I think that a lot of that came from the leaders I knew in the service. You know,
Gotcha.
you're first. You put your name on a dotted line first. You step in first. That's what leaders do. True leaders. Yeah. So I think I learned a lot from that type of experience.
All right. Well, is there anything you'd like to add that we have not covered in the interview?
Not really. I'm humbled by this, quite frankly, because my experience in the service wasn't all that great. I didn't do anything exceptional. I served. I did my time, as many have, and I wouldn't want to ever do it again. But I will say this: I am very thankful for the experience because it helped me grow a lot, and I think served me well in many venues in which I found myself.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to let me come out and collect this for the Library of
Well,
Congress.
You're welcome.